All right, folks, what do you say? Did we make it? Thursday, December 7th, 2023. Cannot wait to run up this session with you guys. So much to cover. Let me share it out far and wide. And while we do, I'm just going to plug myself and what we're doing here on this channel. So if you're new here, my name is Zach Rector. We're covering the current events taking place along with the financial markets and how I am taking advantage of the greatest transfer of wealth in world history. Now, what I am doing is showing you guys how I'm doing it. I'm not here to give anybody financial advice, but I am one of the most transparent content creators in this space. I don't shill any projects. I have my affiliate links down below. Everything can be found on my website, zachrector.com, including crypto merch, precious metals exchanges, wallets, and we're also, have our private community. That's our Patreon, is where you get access to the Discord group. So take advantage of that. We have another Saturday weekly call coming up. But in the meantime, we're going to run up this session right now. And I appreciate everyone for stopping by. I'm just letting the Discord group right now know that we are live. And we are going to get started right away. Let's rock and roll. What do you guys say? Okay, let's get it. So right now we got the market 43,492. So basically 43,500. Bitcoin kind of cooling off from the rally that we did up above 44,000 here as of late. Let's take a look at it. So this is your Bitcoin right here. 43,500. Watching it. Thank you for everyone who's joined us in the chat so far. Appreciate you guys. 43,500 here for your Bitcoin. Ethereum down to 2,385 after its most recent run up. And actually, I guess it's still pushing. My bad, it's still pushing. Up 5% on the day. We woke up to massive green candles coming in. And maybe you saw my video earlier today. It was titled Alts Pump While Bitcoin Cools Off. And we went down the list here, and it was pretty incredible to see some of this green finally coming in. And the altcoins catching up to a Bitcoin that has predominantly ran this narrative as of late with the ETFs and the hype and everything coming in for crypto right now has been driven by something that makes me uncomfortable, which is a Wall Street ETF narrative during a bear market when a broader liquidity crisis. And when you look at the macro data, economically speaking, a recession alarm bell should already be, they should have been ringing. And I think that if you take a close look at the data, as we'll cover here tonight for your, the audience, we're going to break down the situation and explain why I believe that we're already in a recession. You have lagging data, you have manipulated data, and then you also have a lot of corruption and a lot of current event situations unfolding, as we're going to highlight the fact that our president's son has actually just been charged with 9 more charges, a few felonies for taxes and whatnot. And so we're going to get right on into it, folks. There's a lot taking place. Crypto appears to be running up, and that's why I titled this session, Will Crypto Boom During a Recession? Is because I'm going to get into that towards the end of this episode here. So thank you for tuning in here. It's a Thursday night session, a late night session. It's over almost 8:30 here on the West Coast. That's 11:30 Eastern. A little late night session, and we're going to have a little bit of fun. I hope you guys have your favorite adult beverage or something fun to sip on, because we're going to be here for a minute as we cover this data. You guys already know the deal. We're going to start with current events, go into the economic data, and then we'll hone in on cryptocurrency towards the end of this episode, answering the question, sharing my opinion. Will cryptocurrency boom? And I apologize for putting boom in the title, for putting boom in the thumbnail. I'm not typically a boom guy. It's just, we got to get the point across. And so, sorry, my apologies for putting a boom in the title. I'm going to make it worth your while because I got some research here to show you that's very, very interesting. And the tough part about crypto is we don't have much track record to go off of. We only have about 10 or so years, decade of history to look back. And when you look at the recessions, we had a V-shaped recovery in 2020. Literally, the recession, didn't last very long. The pullback in the markets did not last very long before it was bought back up. We turned on the money printers, dropped the rates to zero, and we had ourselves a Powell party. Now, Powell has rug pulled us, and so the party's coming to an end, and the damages are still being done from the party getting a little too litty, if you know what I'm talking about. So the aftermath is still unfolding here as we break down this thing. What's also taking place is massive events on the current events world stage that can also lead to pressure points in the markets as well. So as I've highlighted, I believe that we are in black swan season. Black swan season. Apple juice tonight. We might have some apple juice that we're sipping on. Might have some secret sauce next to us. But I got a lot to cover, so I'm not going to sip too much of it until we get at least halfway through the show. Cheers, everyone. I keep my glass of water by my side as well. Let's rock and roll right on into it. Starting off with this one from Zero Hedge on the world stage front. Guyana situation rapidly deteriorates as Maduro arrests opposition figures amid joint military drills with U.S. This is in Venezuela right now. The situation in Guyana, and I'm probably mispronouncing that, my apologies, is rapidly deteriorating as Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has issued arrest warrants for opposition politicians who are challenging his move to annex oil-rich Essequibo. My apologies. As Charles Kennedy of oilprice.com reports, Maduro has officially placed the disputed territory of oil-rich Essequibo under military jurisdiction, putting oil exploration and production operations of Exxon and Chevron at risk. Now, gosh, if I would have drank too much secret sauce before I had to pronounce those words, who knows what would have came out. Yeah, absolutely. So this is taking place right now, and it's very interesting because you're seeing this happen across the world. Little territory battles, right? Little border battles. Don't get started on the border situation taking place here in the United States. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that. Probably not. But you're seeing it, little skirmishes, little battles. And so right now we're seeing it Venezuela, and it looks like we have some military drills that are taking place right now with America. And so once again, the United States finds ourselves in the middle of a little ordeal here once again in another jurisdiction, and this just continues. As we talk about it, let's get into it. Tucker Carlson shared this one. The Biden administration is openly threatening Americans over Ukraine. Now, he did get community notes on Twitter. For what it's worth, I will cover that after I share what Tucker shared here. The Biden administration is openly threatening Americans over Ukraine. In a classified briefing in the House yesterday, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin informed members that if they don't appropriate more money for Zelensky, quote, we'll send your uncles, cousins, and sons to fight Russia. Pay the oligarchs or we'll kill your kids. Now, he was community notes, so let's fact check this real quick. Got to be fair. Got to read off the community notes. Context. Austin warned Congress Tuesday that if lawmakers fail to pass more aid to Ukraine, that it is, quote, very likely will lead to U.S. troops on the ground in Europe defending NATO allies and other countries Russia may target next. You know, you can do a little, you can infer where this goes. You can see where this goes. And this is another skirmish. This is another battle. This is the world stage events. And as I've been highlighting here, for an American citizen, speaking on behalf of an American that wants to save our country, I'm just recognizing the fact that we're broke. It's like wifey wants to keep on spending. I tell her, no, we've already maxed it out. We're already cleaned out. And I tell her that every day, to be honest. I tell her we're done. We have nothing. You guys know how that battle goes. I tell her we're cleaned out. We're maxed out. There's nothing to be left. Back to the ramen. That's what I try to tell her. But just like the mainstream media is pushing, just like everybody's trying to tell us here in the Congress, we all got to support the next thing, no matter what it is. And here's where my deal is. I don't care who you want to support or fund. We are broke. You know what I'm saying? It's like to wifey. I don't care if you want to go shopping at this store or that store. We're broke. We're cut off. Okay. We've maxed it out. Now, the thing about my situation is I can't just raise my debt limit like the United States. I can't just pull what we've done here recently and remove the debt ceiling completely for the next year. I mean, if I could remove the debt ceiling for the next year, we'd have some fun. I guess we could run it up. And that's what the U.S. is, doing right now, and what our Congress and these sellout politicians, as we covered here earlier today in the video that I dropped, titled They Want to Kill Crypto, I highlighted how Elizabeth Warren and the gang with Jamie Dimon It's funny. Now she wants to act on crypto. Elizabeth, I got a plan for that, Warren. Now that the banksters have told us what to do, now that the banksters have come forward and given the marching orders, now it's time for them to get in line and get something done when it comes to regulations on crypto. Even though we've shown time and time again that the US dollar is used for most of the crimes against humanity, and Jamie Dimon and his banking buddies have been happy to facilitate all of that, this little slap on the wrist fine is just part of the operational expenses at JP Morgan Chase. That's not a big deal. That's just one line item. It's really just not a problem. $1 billion spent on legal fees in the last 6 months, $35 billion in fines settled up, but Jamie Dimon wants to shut down crypto. It's an absolute joke, but you guys already know the setup here. You already know the setup here. Now, I didn't have this pulled up. I just remembered this. Russia is reportedly going to be using Tether as a stablecoin for transactions cross-border. Continue to watch this one, folks. I'm telling you right now, they need a neutral bridge currency. Is Tether neutral? Is it backed? Are there any reserves? It works. It's been getting something done. It's been manipulating Bitcoin. We've talked about that extensively. But the news, I can't confirm it. I came across it on Twitter here today. I'm going to be watching that one closely, though. The options are available, though, is what we've been highlighting, right? I mean, we could prevent world peace if we really wanted. There's no reason for us to be going to war. There's plenty of resources. We DLT. We bring all these commodities online through DLT tokenization of real-world assets. Everyone gets brought forward on a level playing field. And it's very simple how we come to world peace. But they have everything to lose. They have the trillions and hundreds of trillions and quadrillion-dollar markets at stake here. Derivatives that are denominated in US dollars at stake here, valued in the quadrillions. They can't even keep track of it because it's a shadow asset class. They don't even know how much value is on their fiat Ponzi scheme as the US, known as the US dollar, because of the shadow asset class derivatives. And this is why we have the banksters, Jamie Dimon, coming in to kill crypto, along with Elizabeth, I got a plan for that, Warren. And you bet she has a plan for that. She plans on taking care of her bankster buddies and squeezing out American innovation, as we've pointed out here. Not only are they not giving us the rules of the road, but they're suing and going after and weaponizing the three-letter agencies. And we showed it on the clip here this morning on Squawk Box. Elizabeth Warren didn't want to talk about her good friend, good guy Gary Gensler. She didn't want to talk about that. And it's incredible the fact that we have waited a year for an ETF to get approved. Now think about that. Should it take a year for the SEC to approve an ETF on an asset, right, that has been around for well over a decade? We have exposure all over the place, and it's going to take a year for us to approve an ETF. That's absurd on its face, let alone getting into the Ethereum free pass and all the other corruption that we've exposed as well. Now, here's the deal, guys. I see we got a couple hundred in the chat. Thank you for stopping in. I hope that we don't get in trouble for covering this. Make sure you guys like this video, share it out far and wide. And if you're new to our content, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell. We drop content every single day. We do these live sessions where we run it up. And I was hoping that since I'm in a live session, I'll be ranting for another hour or so. I'm sure I'm going to slip in this news that is just now breaking, and hopefully we don't get in trouble. Speaking of corruption, Hunter Biden has been indicted by a federal grand jury on 9 counts, including multiple felonies. Oh boy. Now, according to the report here, Hunter had $1,664,004 in ATM cash withdrawals, spent $683,212 in payments to various women, and $188,960,000 on adult entertainment. Now, Zero Hedge asked the question, how the hell do you withdraw $1.7 million from an ATM? That's like 4,000 daily trips or every day for 11 years. And that is true. It's incredible. Now, is it shocking? Does it surprise us? No, it really doesn't. And in fact, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what needs to be uncovered. You guys already know the deal. We got our red folder. That was kind of a joke, right? Oh, we got our red folder, XRP Army. The damages are massive. It really actually wasn't a joke when you consider that the damages were well over hundreds of billions, if not $1 trillion in damages. But when we're talking about this corruption, it's not any sort of joke at all. And as an American, it sickens me to see this. This And I'm sure that this is just Hunter Biden. I'm sure that this is nothing to do with the family, with Joe. I'm sure it has nothing to do with that. I'm sure it's pretty much clean other than what's in this case, other than what's being presented here. I'm sure it's pretty clean other than that. But as you guys know, just like I do, and I have to dance around the censorship resistance, come on, folks. We got both sides of the aisle that have sold us out. This is no surprise, this corruption. And we were called crazy, lunatic, whack job conspiracy theorists for trying to talk about all of this stuff. That just continues to get exposed. We continue to be vindicated, and I don't have time to pat myself on the back. We don't have time to pat each other on the back. We're trying to take advantage of this opportunity as this gets exposed. They're covering up one of a nasty correction recession that's about to hit America, and they're going to cover it up. They're going to paper it over, and it's going to lead to the greatest transfer of wealth in world history. And the swing, the cycles that we're about to go through over the coming decade are going to be absolutely massive as this gets uncovered. So this is failure to pay his taxes. And it's interesting. As the IRS is hiring 87,000 new agents or whatever their deal is, right? Upping their budget, hiring tens of thousands of guys and gals to come after Americans. Transactions over $600 are going to be tracked and traced. And here's the thing. I don't care. I really don't. I'll tell you what. There's a reason why I got this. There's a reason why I got the Second Amendment. And there's a reason why I love this country. And I don't care about them trying to do this whole deal with, oh, we're going to watch you, move $600 around. That's an absolute joke. Here's the deal. If you really come at their system in a major way, that's who they're really worried about. Tracking and tracing and getting all this, yeah, it's going to be done. That's why everything that I do is on the up and up. I don't try to skirt anything. And in fact, when you understand the tax code and the laws around the taxes, you understand that it's just a series of incentives. And if you do what the tax law says, it's laid out to protect the rich and the wealthy and those that already control assets. Well, funny thing happens. Not only do you save on taxes, you start to build generational wealth as well when you invest in real estate and businesses and you put it in the proper entities and the proper jurisdictions that will respect you, which is the beautiful thing that's happening right now. It's an absolute joke to see some of these situations. We've been vindicated on so much of this, and yet you have a huge resistance underway in some of these jurisdictions that are just completely corrupt. Think of what just happened in our Congress this last week as the Senate chambers for the Senate judiciary community. I mean, it was absolute chaos this week. They literally shut down folks that were trying to, ask questions about nominees considering for judges. Complete mayhem. They've hijacked this country completely. And the problem, and they know, is that this is all about to get exposed. This is why, this is the cannibalization of the existing system and the incumbents. Who can they give up and sacrifice? And I believe in the case of this situation with Hunter has been chosen. Hunter's going to be the fault. I mean, where is Joe at? I asked my Discord group this question today. Where is he at? We're seeing deals with Greece and Turkey. We're seeing that Putin just touched down in Saudi Arabia. Where's Joe at? This is an absolute joke here in the United States. And we got just the DC dance continues on. Finally, we see charges brought here once again. But as I've been saying, this is just the start of much more that has to get uncovered. Now, apparently a little bit more might be uncovered. We've been waiting for this one too. Representative Anna Paulina Luna dropped today impeachment inquiry vote on Joe Biden expected next week. Read the full resolution for yourself. Now, there also was a crypto bill that was introduced this week as well. We're waiting on that one as well. We got a lot of corruption to uncover, and then we also got a lot of, rules to be set here for cryptocurrency. And that's why I'm not holding my breath on the crypto regulations, because they're busy dealing with all this. And by the way, it's not going to be long too before we're coming up on another shutdown as well. That should be pretty interesting to watch. Now, when we look at the markets, the signals are loud and clear, as Kurt Rector says here in this one. Crude oil signals are loud and clear. A recession is incoming. Time to increase exposures to treasuries is what he says. Now, take a look at this chart here. This is your crude oil. This is your 20-year treasury bond ETF. And you can see what is happening, right? Crude oil is sending the signal. We just dipped below $70 here once again. Dip below $70 here once again. This is happening right now as we're speaking, folks. The butcher of Wall Street, Marcel. The Bank Term Funding Program Fed liquidity bailout for banks has reached new all-time high of $125 billion today. Folks, the liquidity measures that they're having to put in place are reaching all-time highs. These are levels that we've never had to go to. And we're exceeding these levels by tenfold of what we did during the Great Financial Crisis. Yet, folks are focused on the market rally. And I was just listening to Daniela DiMartino Booth with Adam Taggart, and I was listening to their session. Now, Daniela, she's a Fed insider, and she's saying the same thing that I see. This is the market. It's doing its final gasp of air, going up and, running up a little bit more, which is what it always does before it comes and gets cleaned out once again. And we can see this in the liquidity crisis already. Fed losses exceed $125 billion, reverse repo collapsing to sub $800 billion, mutual fund and shadow bank excess liquidity, repo facility jumps to highest level since C19 shut down to $200 million, banks seeking liquidity to prevent margin calls, European Central Bank reports Chinese real estate collapse will bleed into the global financial sector, and margin calls against insurance companies and mutual funds will likely lead to fire sales of blue chip stocks and bonds while causing a spike in price of many heavily shorted equities. Cheers. Good luck and God bless. This is it. This is what we've been talking about. This is the moment that we've been waiting for. But what do folks focus on? Well, a lot of folks in the XRP community right now, unfortunately, all they're focusing on is price has been moving sideways. Price isn't pumping. And we're going to get into crypto a little bit here later. But everybody's watching the stock market. S&P pushing towards a new all-time high. Dow Jones, same thing. Nvidia just hit another all-time high, right? So you're already seeing it take place. But meanwhile, on the back end, everything is falling out on the back end of our current system. Just take a look at this data point. About that slowly and then all at once. Yeah, that's what's happening right now in major data points that we're looking at. Personal interest payments, personal income, 100 is what this is called. And what you're looking at right here, the interest payments on personal household debt skyrocketing, folks. And this is just like the United States government debt. But unlike, as I was making the point earlier in this episode, right, I can't raise my debt ceiling, right? I can't raise my debt ceiling just like the United States government did until January of 2025. No debt limit, no debt ceiling limit at all. We can't do that. And the American people can't do that. And you're seeing this data point right here shows you all of a sudden we spike, right? Slowly and then all at once, all of a sudden, personal interest payments. It's the same thing. We're now adding $1 trillion to our deficit every 3 months for the United States. We're now paying more on our interest on our debt than we are on our defense spending. And this is where world powers have to come back into check, right? We've been the world power. We've had the world reserve currency, and we've been able to enforce that through the end of a barrel of a gun, or through a AC-130 or through a drone, or we have many weapons at our disposal, but we've been able to, enforce that reserve currency status. But now, how do we fund that debt? And meanwhile, what are they trying to do in Congress right now? Give hundreds of billions more of money and equipment to other countries. While we are now exceeding the interest on our debt, those payments are going to exceed our defense spending. So how do we maintain our empire status if this continues? Grant Cardone, retail sales down, car sales down, furniture sales declined 2%, home sales virtually stopped, and Fed unwilling to reverse, which will lead to the greatest financial crisis in the history of the United States. Supply chain created inflation. That's over for the most part. Now, here's where I disagree with Grant. It's just you can't leave out the other part of the story. It's not a disagreement. Supply chain created inflation. Yeah, sure. When you shut down the world, yeah, you disrupt the supply chain. Absolutely. I'll tell you what else disrupts the supply chain is companies going bankrupt. And that's what's taking place right now as well. And the other thing that disrupts is massive inflation through money printing. So it's not just inflation through supply chain. We literally had about a third of the US dollars in circulation were injected or created, it doesn't matter how you look at it, during the last few years. So we see here, I do agree with Grant on most of this though. China economy hammered, worldwide recession rolling, oil can't hold despite production cuts. Remember, OPEC keeps on agreeing to further production cuts, yet oil continues to fall off. The commodity traders understand this. This is a real indicator, right? This is not high-flying speculation. This isn't Robin Hood traders. This isn't meme coin traders. See, the meme coiners and you're seeing Wall Street now. I shared an article, or I bookmarked an article as I was getting ready to prepare this stream. It was from the Wall Street Journal. And it was talking about how millennials and Gen Z are no longer going to financial advisors. They're speaking to their friends about financial advice, which here we go. And then I have another article too that I'm going to be talking about. And, basically the Robin Hood investors, they've removed the fundamentals on so many stocks and so much of this trading and volatility that we've seen. But when you look at a mature market like oil, right, nobody's trading, on Robinhood any sort of derivative or really exposure to oil other than maybe some oil company stocks, right? They're not really in sophisticated positions trading the derivatives against oil on Robinhood. You understand what I'm saying? When you look at a market like oil that's declining, falling off the prices, while we're seeing massive production cuts, that is a big, big red flag recession indicator. So I agree with Grant Cardone on those points. Now, when we look at further layoffs, State Street Corporation announces plans to lay off 1,500 employees. And it gets a lot worse than that, folks. Take a look at this one right here. Take a look at this one. Let me check your guys' comments. Thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate everyone for stopping on in. Thank you so much. I see Missy. I see Stuart. I see XRP Shaman, Rebecca, Viking Cat, Classic Tony. Yeah, we got the XRP Shaman. Appreciate you guys. Shane, thank you, brother. Thank you. It gets worse, folks. We get the jobs reports coming out tomorrow. In the meantime, we got some other data points that were shared here. Jobless claims inch up to 222,000. Layoffs still low. So businesses aren't hiring as many workers. The number of Americans who applied for unemployment benefits last week was barely changed at 220,000, indicating that layoffs remain extremely low even as businesses cut back on hiring. New jobless claims inched up 220,000 from a revised 219 in the prior week, the government said Thursday. Economists had forecast new claims in the week ending December 2nd to 222,000. Layoffs are still historically low, but other reports show that businesses are hiring fewer people. New jobless claims rose in 49 states and territories that report these figures to the federal government. They only fell in 4 states. Now, I was getting ready to get this show rolling, and as I was saying, I was listening to Daniela DiMartino Booth, and she was highlighting how the unemployment rate has already grown in 50 states. On a state-by-state basis, it's grown about 50 states. And what happens after this, in 9 out of the 9 previous recessions that we've had, is that you get a run-up in stocks. It's a lag, right? And what happens is the Fed has done damage. Now we're seeing how far that damage goes, how far the collateral damage spreads, how far the contagion spreads. And as our system, as you guys know, has become so systemically intertwined, we're going to see it continue here through the end of this year into the beginning of next year. And what I'm waiting for is big black swan catalysts that allow them to turn that money printer back on and give them the excuse to drop interest rates once again. And I'm going to show you what has happened in the previous recessions as we get towards the end of the show. And as I talk about, will crypto boom during a recession? As I titled this video, we're going to get to that a little bit later. It's very interesting though. What we're seeing is this type of stuff though. Clean to Second Lean on Twitter shares this one. Met with a mid-sized bank for drinks. 20 to 30 billion loan book. 3 to 4 billion office exposure. 1 billion absolute toast. Now I'm going to pause. I'm going to take a sip of my adult beverage. I hope you guys have something enjoyable to sip on here while we continue on through this episode. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. And I'm sure the banksters that are trying to figure out what the heck to do with balance sheets like this might be taking a sip of an adult beverage on a late night session as they're trying to scramble to figure out what to do with their unrealized losses that are in the hundreds of billions and over trillions of dollars. Now, when we look at this one, this is one anecdotal example. 10 billion absolute toast. Or sorry, 1 billion. 1 billion of the 3 to 4 billion of office exposure. Massive, massive losses. This is on top of the 684 billion of unrealized losses that these banks have on their bonds. According to them, that means that they need to raise 900 million in reserves. Where does that come from? Bank specialists feel free to opine. In addition, they need to raise against expiring rate caps. So there's trillions of debt that needs to be reset by next year. No shot FDIC enforces. This is just one bank. This is just one bank of many. This is a mid-sized bank, $20 to $30 billion loan book, 3 to 4 billion office exposure. Of that office exposure, 25%. Well, he says 3 to 4 billion, and he says 1 billion is absolutely toast. So it's 25 to 33% of this portfolio for its office toast. And by toast, I'm thinking that he means probably 50% plus losses, if not more. We've highlighted some buildings in San Francisco, Chicago, these other major cities, Seattle, where you're seeing significant losses. So just one example, but it continues to reiterate the point here. Massive real estate reset underway. Now, in the video that I dropped earlier today, I highlighted the fact that we have an investor, and I forget what market, I forget if it was in Milwaukee or what market it was, but it was someone who shared the fact that in one zip code, there was one investor that had about a third of the supply of existing new homes for sale. So out of all of there was only about 100 or so existing new homes for sale. Or no, I apologize. Let me get my data points straight. But what I do know is there was, not that many homes for sale of existing homes for sale. They had 1/3 of that supply, and across the board, they just price cut about 84%. That was the exact data point. 84% of those homes that they had for sale, they did price reductions, and the average price reduction was 17%. Now, this is one investor in one zip code that owns 1/3 of the existing homes for sale right now. And across the board, they cut on 84% of those properties, and the average price reduction was 17%, 18%. Similar data point to the existing new homes and their median sale price dropping 18% year over year. Funny enough. Now, when we see the investors in some of these markets, what I highlighted this morning is this is your opportunity. Markets that are oversaturated with investors and markets that are oversaturated with new building. This is your opportunity if you're trying to go buy a property or if you want to build up your real estate investment portfolio yourself. This one shared here by Ryan Lundquist gives you another perspective. Here's a map I made to show all 9,000 units owned by Invitation Homes in California. It's mind-blowing to look at this one on the neighborhood level. Check out the map on my weekly post. So this is in the Sacramento metro, in the suburbs surrounding that area. Invitation Homes owning 9,000 units. Now, why is this important? Why is this an opportunity for you if you're trying to buy a home or if you're trying to build your investment portfolio? Is because these big investors, right, they got temporary debt. They need to restructure it. They're going to be offloading a lot of these properties for a various amount of reasons, but that property is going to be coming available along with cities and metros that are banning short-term rentals. You're seeing markets like Dallas. Dallas Metro banned. Dallas City Council banned short-term rentals. Now, we'll see some of these cities, I'm sure they'll get sued and that'll get fought out in court. But in the meantime, you understand the ramifications of that for investors, right? If you have a city like Dallas where there's thousands of Airbnbs, and now all of a sudden Airbnbs and short-term rentals are banned, that's thousands of properties that are coming online as either long-term rentals or they're just going to sell. And as we see, some of these investors, like this one, Invitation Homes, 9,000 units. And when they feel a squeeze, they control these markets. It's not that they have a monopoly, they have a significant stake. As I shared in that other zip code, that institutional investor had a third of all the existing homes for sale in one zip code. That's a third of the supply. You can really move the market in that way. And so the point that I was trying to make is that now's your time to go beat up the builders. Now's your time to go into these markets that have been oversaturated with investors and go find deals. It's going to be nothing but deals from here on out, right? And especially as we start to see the recession start to come in towards this next year. This gets very interesting. Now let's get on into it, folks. Appreciate everyone for stopping by. We're going to get right on into the crypto update. Let's get into it. I wanted to highlight this before I get into the crypto stuff, though. Starlink now live in Honduras. This is Elon Musk sharing this with his Starlink. This is so important, guys. When we bring on 1 billion people online and then we give them digital currency, you guys see where this goes. You have 1 billion people across this planet that are unbanked or underbanked. And then you have a significant amount of the population, too, that doesn't even have internet connection. Now, Elon, he's been beaming it down on Ukraine. He's been beaming it down on Gaza. He's been beaming it down now on Honduras. And all these areas that we're bringing online, this is so positive for the direction and the adoption of digital currency technology here, because it's all tied in. And when it comes to investments, you already know the Wall Street boys and girls are getting all their ducks in a row. You see it right here. Fidelity's spot Bitcoin ETF has been listed on the DTCC under the ticker FBTC. Now, you got to watch this because there's a bunch of legitimate players like Fidelity and others that, how do they, not approve that ETF, right? With these guys that are coming in, they got their custody set up, they got everything aligned, and they're the Wall Street boys and girls that are willing to do whatever it takes, right? And this is the incumbents that have been protected by the SEC. And so what I'm looking at right now is for the first ETFs to be approved towards the beginning of next year. I would be shocked to see them deny all of them. I won't be surprised if I see them deny some. The SEC, they're doing everything in their way to stall and delay this out, but it definitely looks like this is getting ready to go, and you can see it right here with the DTCC. We've talked about them, the Depository Trust Clearing Corporation. They have quadrillions of dollars worth of settlements of securities that are stored and settled on their platform every year. Massive. And they're already getting ready to list that Fidelity spot Bitcoin ETF. So it is coming. Now, I wanted to share this one. This one is from the Wells Fargo employee, Shannon Thorpe. And she went viral for her claim, her prediction, that XRP was on its way to $500 in like 5 months or something. I forget what it was. But you guys recall, this was the Wells Fargo employee. It says XRP is going to 500. This had Twitter going insane. This had everybody going nuts. I probably made a video titled XRP to 500 or something like that. I probably did. And we're going to cover, she dropped this one here tonight. Thinking out loud. What is the debt clock showing us? Could it be something bigger? Have you noticed that every 1,000 roughly in the dollar supply that decreases, $1 is added to the 1913 supply? Now she's talking about that debt clock. You guys have probably seen it. It's showing you all these different, data points, all these different prices and other different, quotes saying, and very interesting. And she says, it looks to me that we're going back to the gold standard, obviously, but this time it will be different. Just like how they told us what our gold was worth back in 1913, because the elite performed a service for us, so we allowed them to determine the value, maybe. Times have changed, and now we get to tell them what our gold is worth today, or whenever the system flips back to gold. She says that's why the 5-year and 10-year price of gold is much higher, re-evaluation time. It also makes me wonder why the dollar supply is gone when you jump to 2027. What also appears is dollar to oil ratio in the corporate small business assets disappear. Is this a glitch? That's a pretty big glitch. Think of the US debt clock as the financial diary to our central bank, the electronic journal of the Federal Reserve since 1913. That's why Seaman Durst created it, so that they could be held accountable one day. Also, any entity that was created after 1913, like the SEC, is a direct product of the central bank, I feel. NS, and she puts a star. She's talking about that three-letter agency. You guys know what we're talking about. The National Security Agency, the NSA, created Bitcoin. And we know, well, got to be careful. Got to be careful. We know David Schwartz did help those guys out a little bit. We know that there's a little connection there, don't we? An entity that was created after any entity that was created after 1913 is a direct product of the central bank. And it's so true. Look at what is changed, one, in the value of our dollar and with how our country has been ran since 1913. It's truly incredible. And she says, NSA created Bitcoin. Why else would they give SEC, or why else would the SEC give Bitcoin a free pass? Because they are a product of the Federal Reserve. They knew their day would be coming one day, so they created the three-letter agencies and disguised them as our government. They are the ones who created Bitcoin so that they could use it to their advantage. If we can't make them give up their assets to pay their debts, or even if they do, they have Bitcoin to be their cash cow. It's their nest egg, and they also use it as a means to siphon more money out of the people in hopes of being a billionaire. Pipe dreams. If they created it, then that means they own most of it, and how easy would it be to have all of their companies buying and promoting it, making people believe it's the next big thing, when in reality, they could dump so hard on the market. Bitcoin is the central bank's savior, no one else's. It's their store of value. The only reason why it has value is because they've programmed people to believe it does. Brand recognition. So Shannon Thorpe, the Wells Fargo manager, who said that XRP is going to 500, now she is saying and calling out Bitcoin that basically the government created it, and it's a creation of the central banks, because everything after the inception of the Federal Reserve in 1913 is just an inception of the Federal Reserve central bankers. Now, here's what's clear is, everything after 1913 was funded and facilitated through the Federal Reserve, through the private central bankers that took over this country. So that is true. Now, when we look at the claims on Bitcoin, I listened to my mentor, Dan Pena, and he says that if we found out who created Bitcoin, the price would drop instantly, that we would run as fast as we could to sell it. Now, he's a crazy old man, and maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. But at the end of the day, I think that we've seen plenty of clips, we've seen our communities covered it, that the Department of Homeland Security seems to already know who Bitcoin is. And there's many folks who speculate on who Bitcoin will be. Maybe we'll never know. But to me, it's very clear. Bitcoin has been given a free pass. Now, as an XRP holder, it's not that I want to see Bitcoin go away. Bitcoin has its role. And if its role is to, be the answer for central banks, then maybe it is. I think that what I see is an opportunity for folks to accept DLT technology. And it starts with the pipe dream that you're going to get rich off Bitcoin. It starts with the pipe dream that you're going to get rich off an altcoin, that you're going to get rich off of XRP, that you're going to get rich off of an NFT, all of it. It all starts with that. And what do they usher in? They usher in a CBDC system of control, which they already have. Everything's gone digital. Everything is under their control. Everything is being tracked and traced. As I highlighted earlier, the son of our president isn't paying his taxes, is pulling millions of dollars out to pay for a bunch of things that I can't even name on this show. Meanwhile, they want to come after, with 87,000 IRS agents, come after all of us for our $600 transactions, and they want to track and trace it all. And to me, I know they already got it. It's already there. Everything that we're doing on the internet is being tracked and traced and recorded. And the system that they've set up for Bitcoin and Ethereum, it's funny, even with the free pass, it still doesn't work. As I highlighted in the show earlier today, the average Bitcoin transaction is now almost up to $30. It's an absolute joke. And so even though they've been given the free pass for Bitcoin and Ethereum, they still are failing. Right? They've, ran up some, and I think that they can do a little bit more for sure. For sure, Bitcoin can run up some more. I saw before I fired up this live show that the head of research at Uphold, Martin Heispick, or however you say his last name, Martin, he's the head of research at Uphold. He's calling for $200,000 Bitcoin. And so, yeah, sure, send Bitcoin up to 200,000. I know in that market environment that we're going to see the altcoins run up significantly as well. And what I'm watching for right now is for Ethereum to survive and a lot of the ERC20 tokens to come after to have scrutiny from the SEC. They're going to go after all of the ERC20 tokens and the ICOs that were launched on top of Ethereum, but I'm not going to be holding my breath waiting for them to go after Ethereum. And so this is why I think that Bitcoin will run up. I think that Ethereum will run up. And I do believe that XRP is going to run up in a massive way. Now, as far as will crypto boom during a recession? Well, first off, we have to start with what is a recession? A recession, historically speaking, before we went to, going to woke politics and everybody needs to feel happy. Everybody needs to be happy slappy. We can't hurt anybody's feelings. Nobody can be offended. What we did is we adjusted. It's just like how we adjusted the CPI lie. We've done that many times. And now we're adjusting what we classify as a recession. So historically, in Economics 101 class, you would have been taught that a recession is 2 quarters of negative GDP growth. Now, we got that in the first half of 2022. Nobody called it a recession. Okay, fine. But what I did is I pulled up our previous recessions here on Investopedia to give us a glimpse, to give us a definition and a context of what a recession is and how long it lasts. So let's take a look here. This is from Investopedia. And I'm just looking at our most recent ones. So you have the dot-com bubble recession, which lasted 8 months from March of 2001 to November of 2001. The GDP decline was only 0.3%. The peak unemployment rate went to 5.5%. And the reasons and causes were the collapse of the dot-com bubble contributed to one of the mildest recessions on record, following what was then the longest economic expansion in U.S. history. The Fed raised the Fed funds rate from 4.75% in early 1999 to 6.5% by July of 2000. The September 11 attacks and the associated economic disruptions may have hastened the recession's end, by encouraging the Fed to keep cutting the Fed funds rate. The benchmark rate reached a low of 1% by mid-2003. So what they had to do is they had to cut rates all the way to 1%, and that was done, and we were able to recover. It was one of the most mild recessions, only lasted 8 months because of the events of 2011 and how quickly the United States was able to rally after that, right? Our country, that was the last time that we were truly united, basically since I would say the events of the last couple of years. The country really didn't get united, but the country got woken up, I guess you would say. But after 2001 was when we were the most united. And so that recession only lasted 8 months, and then we did recover. Now, the Great Recession of December of 2007 to June of 2009 lasted 18 months. Now, I don't want to miss our comments here. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my goodness gracious. Shannon with the $69.99. Shannon, I appreciate you. We do accept your Canadian funny money down here. Can't wait to see you in Vancouver too, by the way. We already got a few Discord meetups, and I'm just so excited to meet up with the community. Shannon, thank you so much. She says, I wanted to one-up Stuart. So Stuart must have dropped something. He dropped that Australian funny money. Stuart with the 50 spot. I'm so much love for you, brother. Thank you for your content, Zach. Keeping it real as usual. We're just getting started for the night, guys. I appreciate you guys so much. Let's keep it going. As I was saying, the Great Recession, December 2007 to December 2009. Let's take a look at it. 18 months is how long this one lasted, with the GDP decline of 4.3%. Peak employment rate. Now, so we had significant GDP decline, 4.3%. In the dot-com bubble recession, we only had 0.3% GDP decline. So it really wasn't that bad. That's basically equivalent to actually what we got in 2022, interesting enough. But the Great Recession of 2007 to June 2009, 18 months, so 1.5 years, GDP decline of 4.3%, peak unemployment rate of 9.5%. So there's a reason why they call it the Great Financial Crisis, right? The nationwide downturn in U.S. housing prices triggered a global financial crisis, a bear market in stocks that had the S&P 500 down 57% at the lows, and the worst economic downturn since the recession of 1937 through 38. So taking us all the way back to the Great Depression. Global investment flows into the U.S. had kept market rates low, likely encouraging unscrupulous mortgage underwriting and mortgage-backed securities marketing practices. What's funny too, what did we just highlight earlier in this episode, right? That mid-sized bank with about a third of their loans on office buildings that are basically shot. So this time it wasn't subprime on the average retail investor, right? This time it was subprime on office buildings, on WeWork, that's now gone bankrupt after their $47 billion IPO. Now, oil prices spiked to record highs by mid-2008 and then crashed, depressing the U.S. oil industry. Dropping oil and commodity prices led to deflation and strained the U.S. economy. And we actually are going to start to see some deflation here soon if the Fed doesn't come in and save the day, which, we're expecting that too, but we might get some deflation in the meantime. But let's look at the most recent recession, which was a very, very interesting one. The COVID-19 recession, February 2020 through April 2020. So it was only 2 months. This is what we call a V-shaped recovery. We crashed, but then we corrected off of that collapse just as fast as we came down, we came back up. The COVID-19 pandemic spread to the U.S. in March of 2020, and the resulting travel and work restrictions caused employment to plummet, triggering an unusual short but sharp recession. What's interesting is we're now reaching levels of unemployment, of jobless claims that we haven't seen since 2021, funny enough. The unemployment rate climbed from 3.5% in February 2020 to 14.7% in April 2020, but was back below 4% by the end of 2024, capped by $5 trillion in pandemic relief spending. How about that? So in 2001, the dot-com bubble, they had 9/11, and that brought the whole country back together, and that, they brought the rates back down to 1%, and we had a party, and America was alive once again. America was great once again because we'd been under attack. We became united, and we were ready to get back to work. We were ready to go to war. We were supporting war. That was one of the most supported wars that we had had in a very, very long time. In addition, quantitative easing by the Federal Reserve expanded its balance sheet from $4.1 trillion in February 2020 to nearly $9 trillion by the end of 2021, complementing a federal funds rate that remained near zero until March of 2022. So this is what we're looking at right now, folks. The average recession has lasted 17 months, while the 6 recessions since 1980 have lasted less than 10 months on average. So most of these recessions last about 10 months. And when you look at the most recent ones, you have a V-shaped recovery is what we got in 2020. That's what I'm watching for here again in 2024. I'm watching for a V-shaped recovery because I think that the Fed is going to respond. I think they're going to turn back on the money printer, and I think that we're going to run back up in a massive way. How is that going to affect crypto? That's what we titled this video. Will crypto boom during a recession? I don't think that it's going to boom during this collapse, during this contraction, during this recession that we might get at the beginning of 2024. But I don't think that this will last long, just like in 2020. When they turned the money printer back on, Bitcoin took off. All of the stock market took off. Gold took off. And I'm going to show you right here what I'm talking about. This is the chart during 2020. Now, you guys know I've been showing you this. 336% rally during 2019 before we got hit in March of 2020, and the cryptocurrency market came back down to 3,800. Now, this I've been showing you guys this. I've been warning about this chart right here because we are in the middle of a 160% bull trap rally. Or maybe this is the bull run. Maybe this is it. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments down below if you think that I'm wrong. But what I see right now is something similar. 336% rally from 3,000 to almost 14,000. We thought everything was fine and dandy. We thought Trump was going to get elected again. We thought the greatest transfer of wealth in world history was going to continue. America was going to be great again. And then we got March 2020. right? And we collapsed 72% for Bitcoin from top to bottom. Now, that's the most recent peak that we just hit up here at 14,000 during this moment. We went up to 14,000, and then we come back down to 3,800. We almost set a new low for Bitcoin, which was achieved in December of 2018 at about 3,000. In December 18, Bitcoin went down to about 3,000. Then, all through 2019, it ran up, but then we got the March 2020 simulation events, and it killed us. And even just during that moment in time right there, if you just look, when Bitcoin had already collapsed, and then it was actually running up towards the start of 2020, we had a fake out rally. If you recall this happened in the stocks, and this happened in crypto, Bitcoin as well. We pumped back up. Look at this thing, back up to 10,500, but then even from that level, down another 60%. Now, from the overall peak here, 14,000, down to 3,800, you're looking at about 72%. So about a 60 to 70%, depending on where you want to pull from, is what we did during the last recession, which is the only recession, this is the tough part, the only recession that Bitcoin's ever been in was one of the most manipulated recessions that we've ever seen, because it was a V-shaped recovery. It lasted 2 months. And actually, we didn't get a technical recession until 2022. But by that time, the market had already pumped and Bitcoin had already gone to 69,000. It had already ran up significantly, right? And so this is all we have for as far as what has crypto done so far during a recession. And it pulled back. It pulled back in a major way. Just like you've seen with gold too. Gold pulls back. And then it rallies because it's seen as a store of value. Now, for me, I want to make this point to answer the question that I put in the title here tonight. Will crypto boom during a recession, during a collapse, during a black swan, during a March 2020 simulation event that might be on the horizon once again? No, it will not. It will boom as far as blowing up, collapsing, and then we will start to recover. But here's the good news that you wanted to hear tonight. And I'm not just saying this to give you hopium. I'm saying this to keep it real with you guys. Crypto recovers the fastest. So after we get killed, after a black swan comes through, after a recession comes through, after the equities comes down, after everything comes down, who knows what's going to happen, right? There's dozens of black swan scenarios that could play out between now and our election cycle. We're already in the middle of a couple. World War III events, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza. Now we have another war in Venezuela taking place. There's jurisdictions with multiple skirmishes happening. We have Biden black swans happening as his son Hunter Biden gets charged here on 9 more charges, felonies included, for evading taxes and not paying his taxes. So you name the black swan, it's definitely a possibility. What happens to crypto during that time? As I pointed out, there's also some crypto black swans. We can talk about Tether, we can talk about stablecoins, we can talk about other exchanges. We see that there was a bill passed here, a bill passed by the House, or introduced in the House, I should say, for crypto regulations. And so they're talking about giving us rules. They're talking about turning this thing on. But here's what I'm watching for. We've been primed with a Wall Street narrative, and this is what really concerns me, is when Wall Street's shilling, when Wall Street's pumping, when the CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, is telling us that cryptocurrencies are going to transcend traditional currencies, that makes me uneasy, because I already knew that to be true. But by the time one of these guys comes on, they're always talking their book. You have to understand that their standard operating procedures is to talk their book when they come on CNBC. They're not like me, just a regular Joe Blow who only has like half a dozen positions. I got cash, I got silver, I got XRP, and I run my businesses. That's it, right? I don't have a bunch of different positions. These guys, they have all these deals, and they're always talking their book. It's just like Jamie Dimon saying that we should shut down crypto. Meanwhile, they're doing everything on the back end. Remember, Jamie Dimon saying we should shut down crypto. And I just remembered this one as we're speaking here tonight on this live. Jamie Dimon saying that we should shut down crypto. Meanwhile, He sent 15 of his executives to the offices of Ripple. I forgot about that one. On top of him doing JP Morgan's ONX project, on top of Ethereum, JP Morgan coin, they're working on DLT technologies for their clients and for their systems. And they also sent 15 of their executives to the offices of Ripple, yet he's saying that we should shut down crypto. It's an absolute joke. And they're always lying to us. Rebecca says, let's add some American funny money since it's worth nothing soon. Invest wisely, Zach. Rebecca, so much love for you. Thank you so much for dropping that massive $75. That gets you a few Happy Meals these days now, doesn't it? Maybe. Unbelievable, isn't it? Now, to wrap up what I was saying here, and then I'll do some Q&A. Start dropping your comments and questions down below, guys. We'll go rapid fire Q&A. I still have a little bit of an adult beverage here to finish up, and so we're going to keep it rolling. But let me finish this point. Here's what I'm watching for. This market's going to get hit by something. I don't care to, I don't care to solve the riddle or decode what the exact event's going to be and what day it's going to be. I'm just looking at a window of opportunity, and I'm looking at an event that will catalyst, be a catalyst for the market to come down. That's all I'm watching for. In response, I expect the Fed to come in a massive way. They want to paper this thing over, and they want a lot of chaos taking place so that they can kind of cover up for their corruption that they're getting exposed on. But they also don't want the economy to completely collapse on us as we head to the polls. Coming up this election cycle, they don't want us to be in a recession. They don't want the market to be down. And so that's why I'm expecting them to respond in a massive way. So crypto will not boom during a collapse, during a recession, but it will respond and recover the fastest. And what we're seeing, I want to come on the record right now here tonight. And I want to say, when you just simply look at gold versus all of crypto, I know many people want to look at, and especially the Bitcoin bros, want to look at gold versus Bitcoin. I get that. They're both a store of value, but you have to consider that gold has additional utilities as well. So this is why I'm comparing gold to all of crypto. For me, when I look at crypto, you have a store of value in Bitcoin, and you have utility in Ethereum and XRP and all these other cryptos. So, there's no reason why these cryptocurrencies all combined together cannot achieve a market cap of 13 trillion, which is what gold has achieved based off of a store of value and based off of some utility. That's what gold has achieved. So there is no reason why digital assets can't achieve that and more. When you look at the utilities and the problems that they solve, it's actually larger than the problems that gold solves with its utility, right? So this is why I believe that crypto, although it is set to get smacked again, we might get, further exchanges having trouble. We might get stable coins having issues. We might just get a big scare event. Maybe it's going to be aliens. I don't know what it's going to be. Let me know in the comments down below what you think the Black Swan event's going to be. What's funny is most likely it's and what's already happening as we speak is half a dozen Black Swan scenarios in real time. We're already going through multiple Black Swan events. Now, although we get hit, although it's going to be an opportunity to buy the dip, you know what I'm going to be doing. We are going to recover so fast, and we're going to come back down, I'm sure eventually, but we will never come back down to these levels that you're going to see for buying opportunities over the next 3 to 6 months. And I'm more likely to suggest take a look over the next few months versus the next 6 months. I think that it's going to happen. It's going to be another V-shaped recovery, just like we got during 2020. We got smacked. They came in, they cut rates to zero. They printed $5 trillion, literally injected $5 trillion into our economy, and they added another $5 trillion to their balance sheet as well. And so watch for the Fed to do that, and it might not be that drastic, but it might actually have to be pretty similar, just because when you look at every time they slap another Band-Aid on, and the bleeding out still continues. So they're going to have to keep on slapping on. And every time they slap on a bigger Band-Aid, but they don't fix the underlying issue. So it's just like when we had the great financial crisis of 2007 through 2009, that was an 18-month recession. I don't know if we're going to get another one like that because this market moves so much faster. And even if the equities market and real estate and the economy as a whole kind of does get an 18-month or a 2-year long recession, the average that we have is about 10 months. The great financial crisis was a little extra. The average that we've had over the last 6 or so, I think, has been about 10 months that the recession has lasted. So even if we got that, crypto's new, and crypto is a lot more volatile. So it'll crash further, but it recovers faster. And as I was showing you here on the chart, when you look at what Bitcoin did, it collapsed 60 to 70%, depending on where you want to pull. This is what it did during March of 2020, about 60%. And once again, it ran up in 2020, right at the beginning, January, February, March, kill us. That's what happened. And all the way through 2019, the final year of the bear market, starts to run up. And then that bear market gets completed out after we come back down, right? This happened in June of 2019 when Bitcoin reached up to 14,000. And through the second half of 2019, the market came back down. And then in 2020, literally, where are we at? Right here, you get your first green candle in January of 2020. So all of the second half of 2019, it was all down. And then we rally, little one more final gasp of air, little bull trap rally up to 10,500 before we get killed by 63% coming back down. Now, I see another super chat there from Stuart. Much love to you, brother. He says, I'm watching gold. If gold stays over 2,000 US over weekend until Monday, I'll call it. Gold is unleashed. Operative word, if. We were not surprised to see that pullback on gold, right? That was very common to be expected. Gold breaks out to all-time high in US dollar terms. Absolutely, there's going to be a sell-off. There's a massive amount of manipulation. I didn't pull it up in tonight's episode, but guys, they've literally added back 7.5 million of these right here. 7.5 million ounces of silver have been added back to the COMEX vaults over the last week. They are desperately trying to fill back up the vaults right before they get cleaned out once again. They're trying to keep up, and they're expecting a lot more demand. They're expecting this to get cleaned out in a massive way. That's why they've loaded up 7.5 million ounces in the last 7 days. So we've been covering this one, and it's incredible to see. Gold goes up to all-time high, has a pullback. Silver went back up to $26, has a pullback. And in fact, silver, it's going to be interesting to watch because, as I said, we're entering into a recession pullback for the broader economy and the equities markets. And I think that when you look at the recessions that we've had in the past, gold will get little pullbacks before it really rallies. Basically after the recession is recognized and then folks realize, okay, we need to go to safety. That's when gold does its thing. Same thing is going to happen for crypto, but it's going to move even faster because you're talking about an asset class that is only at about $1 trillion. With gold, you're at what? 13 trillion in overall market cap. For cryptocurrency, you're only at 1 trillion. So it's going to take a lot less to move crypto in a major way. And it's so much more liquid than gold is as well. So when we look at what happened for gold and silver after the ETFs got approved, gold did a 5x, silver did a 10x. For cryptocurrencies, I think we can expect even more. Cryptocurrency sitting at a market cap valuation of about $1 trillion. If that 10x's, that goes to 10 trillion. If you want to pull from the peak was 3 trillion in overall cryptocurrency market cap in 2021. If we go 10x from there, that takes us to 30 trillion. So that's why I think over the next decade, it's very conservative to say that cryptocurrency is going to 10 to 30 trillion of overall cryptocurrency market cap. How much of that goes into XRP? I think a sliver. I think a little chunk goes into XRP. I think XRP goes to a little bit higher than 64 cents. Where are we at the time of this recording? Let's pull up the chart here and take a look at our XRP. Oh, let me readjust here. Let's pull up our charts here on the cryptos and take a look at this market right now. Please drop your comments and questions down below, and I'll get right on into it, guys. Okay, this is your 4-hour chart on Qcoin. Here you go. XRP at 64.7. So we've been climbing over the last day here through today. We did come back up. Yesterday we did 65.5 cents, came back down to 62. Now we've been climbing steadily over the last 24 hours. We'll be watching that one. Now Bitcoin went sideways, and this is where the altcoins have gone crazy. Ethereum up about 5% on the last day. XLM right here, climbing once again, pushing towards 13 cents. Very interesting to watch. Now silver, like I said, back down. Silver got back above $26 per ounce. Now it's back below $24 per ounce on your silver. 2030 for gold. Went up to 2,150 for gold. Massive breakout. Nvidia, back up in the last day, but it's been steadily declining after the most recent highs of $500 were achieved here just a couple weeks ago. Just a couple weeks ago, that new high was set here for Nvidia at $509. It's been down ever since. A little bit of a bump over the last 24 hours, though. S&P back down today, and it was back down yesterday, and we see the S&P just chopping sideways right now. Chopping sideways for the stocks. Now, I haven't taken a look at XDC in a while. Another one that gets massively manipulated. Let's take a look at this thing. We were, what do we do on this pump right here? 20% in one day of trading there for XDC. Pretty massive. Okay, so it went up to basically 5.89, 5 cents. And right now we're back down to about 5 cents, right? Basically almost up to 6 cents for XDC. Now we're back down to 5 cents right now. BNB still at 235. Down in a massive way from the lows. Now Coinbase was taking advantage of this rally. You can see what Coinbase did. Coinbase over the last month, while Binance was getting attacked, massive rally. Massive rally. Jesus Coin been chopping sideways. You know, it's funny, actually, I wanted to add something about Jesus Coin. Watch for Jesus Coin to pump, and maybe it already did it. I mean, it did run up significantly and set a new all-time high. But watch for Jesus Coin to pump in anticipation of, I think they're going to burn like a third of the supply on Christmas on 12/25. So on December 25th, they're going to burn like a third of the, I forget how much of the supply, 2/3 of the supply, half the supply. I forget what it is. They're going to burn a significant chunk of the supply. It might even be more. It might even be like 80% of the supply is getting burned. And they need to burn a lot of the supply because they created like 700 trillion tokens or something stupid. But I wanted to highlight that. I wanted to highlight that next time I brought up Jesus. So since I did pull up the Jesus chart, watch for that one to rally into that. But then I would expect a massive sell-off after Christmas Day. So maybe I'll pull this clip up after Christmas Day when that crash is taking place, and I can say, oh, I told you so. But that's kind of what I see coming for Jesus Coin, is one more pump leading up into that burn, and then it'll be down after that. Let's watch that. Let's see what Algorand's done. Algorand's been doing really well as of late. Really climbing here. Significant strength for Algorand. Back up to 16 cents for Algorand. FTT token. Let me read your guys' comments and questions. Let's watch XRP here. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. Much love. Much love. Thank you for all the support here tonight. Here's the 15-minute chart on XRP. Yep. Let me know in the comments what kind of what black swan events you might be expecting. What happened to Safe Moon? Good question. Good question. What happened to Safe Moon? I highlighted like Shiba was up like 20% on the week. There's so many coins that are up this week massively. Now that Bitcoin's cooling off, it's allowing for some of this liquidity to come back into some of these altcoins, and they're catching up right now. Cheers, everyone. Thank you for stopping by. Okay, I'm reading your guys' questions right now. Janet, no telling Yellen. Zach, what is your thoughts and current position on Corium? I'm sure you'll be aware of the existence through Sologenic. Are you staking via bridge on DEX or holding XRPL waiting for AMM deep dive? Solo, yeah. Let me pull it up. I've been disappointed by Sologenic, and for Corium, I haven't been impressed. But they are worthy of a deep dive. Let me pull this up. Let me pull up Corium. So Corium is up 7% today. Little bit of a pump. Okay, what's it up this week? It's up 21% this week. About 6% this month. Okay. And you saw this thing got cleaned out in a major way, right? Down to about 8 cents during November, down to about 9 cents. Now we're up to about 12 cents for Corium. Now, all-time high, we're down from about 75%. We're down 83% from all-time high. I really can't speak on this coin until I get updated on what they've been doing, because maybe they have been building a little bit something over there. For me, I think that the biggest disappointment was I thought that everything was going to be happening on Sologenic, and then with the announcement of Corium and like, oh, we got another chain now that's going to be doing this, that was really defeating for me. But once again, I need to get updated on what they've been doing in their ecosystem. I just, for me, I thought that everything was going to be taking place on Sologenic. And so when they announced Corium was going to be unlocked, like, why is the reason why they created Corium? Once again, I got to get refreshed on that project. Still don't understand how people can call anything stable relative to what? Well, that's what I've been saying too, JT, is the whole notion of a stable coin is a complete joke. Is the dollar stable? No. It's being devalued by 3% if we go off their CPI lie, but we know it's a lot worse. Which should I prefer, long-term XLM or XDC? I'm trading both. I don't really think about either one of those long-term. I guess that's not true. I'm just going to trade them. I don't plan on holding them forever. That's my position with XLM and XDC personally. If I need XDC because I'm going to build something on XDC, or I see another opportunity, I will. But I'm waiting to probably offload most of my position in both XLM and XDC this bull run. For as far as which one's going to have bigger gains, they both impress me. It's really neck and neck. I would just say that XLM might be able to target some larger markets, but I still need to see more adoption. Stellar's been touting some stuff. I need to see more adoption. And by the way, make sure you guys subscribe, hit that notification bell if you're new here, because I got a Stellar deep dive that's coming up here soon as well. Do I have any Flare token? I think I have a few. I just got a few. I was pretty disappointed by Flare as well. XDC has 9.99% staking on Globiance. Yeah. That's good. I don't really trust many of these staking platforms right now. Zach, I bought Caspa when it was first listed on Uphold. Do you foresee a space for DAGs? I invested just off of the technology and it ran up to number 27 on CoinMarketCap. ISO coins for sure with CAS. I need to do, but isn't CASPA proof of work? I need to do a deep dive on CASPA. So many people have been asking me about that. Yeah, I need to take a look at CASPA. What has it done here? So CASPA definitely went nuts, up to about 13 cents here. Yeah, pretty impressive. Pretty impressive for CASPA. A lot of attention on this one though already. Okay, market cap's at 2 billion. Yeah, so it's already grown pretty substantially. There might be some room here still to go on CASPA, but I need to do a deep dive on CASPA. CASPA is a proof of work cryptocurrency which implements the Ghost DAG protocol. Yeah. So DAG is more efficient than a lot of these common validation methods. Distributed acrylic graph technology is what it's called, DAG. So I am familiar. I haven't seen much on the partnership front, so I got to deep dive CASPA before I can speak on it. What DeFi platforms are more risky with the Department of Justice SEC threats? Yeah, so that's the thing. I worry about them not so much getting taken out by the SEC. I mean, there's that threat too. But I also just worry about their sustainability. Will they be able to keep on turning out the rewards that they're promising right now? That's my concern with a lot of these projects. Let me see here. Any other notable pumps taking place? Cardano's gone pretty crazy as well. Up 32% this month for Cardano. Yeah, I remember this thing went all the way back down to about 25 cents earlier this year. Now, wasn't the all-time high for Cardano like $3? Yeah, $3.10 in September of 2021. Shiba. Boy, I got burned trying to short Shiba. I tried to short Shiba, failed at that. And I'm trying to think of what other coin I tried to short. There's been a couple other meme coins that I've tried to short. I always got in trouble with that. I've only had my success shorting Bitcoin. XDC has ties with the new CEO of Binance. XDC will be huge for many reasons, that being one. Yeah, I heard that the new CEO of Binance was part of the WEF. We know that Brad Garlinghouse is part of the WEF as well. Yeah. I think we all know here that there will be just a few digital assets, tokens, coins, tokenization protocols left, but mainstream won't be able to buy it unless accredited. That's what's going to be interesting to see, Stuart. With some of these ICOs that were done, I think that they were under registered securities. But for the SEC, I mean, even if some of these protocols are securities, there is solid rules and regulations for allowing access for securities, right? It's just a matter of coming into compliance, registering, and then it'll be offered. And so I think that tokenized securities, it's going to be a very, very big thing. going forward. But yeah, I worry about the ability for folks to be able to get their hand on this thing. When you consider for XRP too that you need 10 XRP minimum to even open a wallet. So when XRP goes to a dollar, and I mean, even at today's price right now is 60 cents, right? It's unaffordable for, someone in a third world country who's just getting brought online to then be able to shell out $10 just for a wallet. What I think will happen though is they'll either lower that reserve requirement or they'll just use side chains and payment rails that'll make that accessible for folks. Dogwood says, please pray for me. Dogwood, assuming that you're being straight up, we will pray for you. Now, Prod LB dropped a 10 spot. People saying that this will be like the 2017 bull run. Two best performing assets during that run were none other than XRP and XLM. Also, I sense an absolute sacrifice to 10K Bitcoin. Thoughts? It's a great question. I appreciate the super chat. For me, it's just like during 2020. We didn't crash down to new lows. Bitcoin went from 3,000 to 14,000 and then it went back down to 3,800. It didn't go back down to 3,000. Went down to 3,800. And it collapsed by about 70%. So I see something similar. Now, if Bitcoin crashes, 50%, well, Bitcoin's back down to 25,000. We're back below sub 30. Now, even just going back to sub 30, what's that going to do to the altcoins? This is why I'm remaining patient, is because even if we do something that's not even that drastic, that's not even that bad, we still can get a pullback. And what that does to the altcoins is going to be even more exaggerated. And I'm going to take advantage of that. XRP back to 40 cents, back to 30 cents. Thank you very much. I don't think that Bitcoin goes to 10K this cycle. I don't think. I think that we go below 30K once again. And I'm happy to be wrong. You can throw a pie on my face for being wrong about this, right? Because that's fine. We've aligned ourselves in cryptocurrency. So if Bitcoin is going to continue running up, as we see right now, the altcoins are catching up and following behind. So that's why I expect for crypto as well. How are we going to get all of our crypto when all the banks and platforms have limits? Rebecca, that's a great question. For me, I'm setting up relationships with multiple banks right now, multiple bank accounts within those banks. I worry about the liquidity crisis. That's why I do that. But I'm also setting up with relationships with as many exchanges as possible. And the reason why I'm doing that is so that I have options. Now, it's pretty easy in my jurisdiction. The state that I live in is really stupid. And so many exchanges don't offer trading to people in my state. So that only gives me a few options anyways. So with that being said, I find anybody that will allow me to trade, I set up a relationship with them so that I have an option for on-ramping or off-ramping in and out of crypto. And that's what I recommend for everybody, is that you don't trust these exchanges, but you set up relationships with all of them so that you can try to use them when it's time to get a deal done, but then we want to take the money and run. Metaphorically speaking, in this case, we're going to take the crypto, we're going to put it on our cold storage, and we're going to get it off of their platform. Or if you guys want to use the new Uphold Vault, they just announced that this morning. Uphold Vault is assisted self-custody where you have two keys and they have one. And so if you lose a key, you still have one, they still have one, you can get access to your wallet. So that's very interesting right there. Yep. Yep. Rebecca says, yep, 4 banks that are credit unions. Yep, exactly. Great questions. Great questions tonight, guys. Keep it coming. Keep it rolling. Right now, that vault is only for XRP. Great point, Viking Cat. Yes, it's only for XRP. Now, a lot of people have been asking me too about one-on-one sessions. We have made those available. My schedule is limited though, so get on while we can, because I'm sure that we'll be cutting that off here once again here shortly. The one-on-one sessions are live though right now. Once again, you can get access by going to my website, zachrector.com, and you can schedule a one-on-one session. Or if you don't want to pay for a one-on-one session, you can just show up to our Discord weekly call. You get access through Patreon to join our Discord group. And every Saturday, we have a weekly call where I make myself available for the community every single Saturday for at least an hour. Sometimes we go to 2. And so if you don't want to pay the price for a one-on-one session, if you just have a few questions, show up to the live show, drop it in the Q&A, show up in the Discord group to the weekly calls. Or if you're in the Discord group, you can message me at any time too. And like I said, the one-on-one sessions are for folks that want to talk about the moves to be considered, right? Whether that's your business, whether that's investing, whether you just want to talk with me about life, whatever you want to chat about, I have made the one-on-one sessions available. And then I'm also doing a 13% off when you sign up for a 1-year membership of your Patreon. You save 13%, so take advantage of that. I'm going to be running that till the end of this year. Also talk to your tax professional or your accountant about writing off the cost of your Patreon as a legitimate business expense as well. So a couple of things to consider. I wanted to throw those out before we answer a few more of your guys' questions. Zach, I've heard Schwartz talk about quantum proofing XRP. That means you can only send XRP to your wallet with no other crypto. This quantum proofs your bag. Yeah, so there's still work being done. There's still a long ways to go. But yes, initial conversations, initial research, David Schwartz has highlighted how, yes, they are working on making the XRP ledger quantum resistant. So that's going to be very important. What's the scam about Elon? I don't know. Am I interested in the Evernote airdrop at all? Not really. Typically with these airdrops, it's just like I was talking about with the Jesus coin. Jesus coin is going to burn a bunch of their tokens. There will be a run up probably before a major sell off. Same thing takes place with these airdrops. Is there's a lot of hype and then it falls off. Same thing with the IPOs. Rebecca, I appreciate you. Appreciate you. Special Forces discount of 15%. Mother of 8 and Grammy of 12. Rebecca, I appreciate you. I did offer the 13% now for everyone. That's going till the end of the year. And then we'll see what we can offer from there. But yeah, we're running that special right now. And honestly, we're at a point now too where our group, our family has become so tight knit, and I love to see it continue growing. But yeah, it's exciting to bring opportunities to the group, and that's what I'm looking forward to most this next year is the educational content that we're bringing, and then also the due diligence that we're doing on investment opportunities is going to be incredible as well. We're talking about private equity. We're talking about real estate. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, we always got to have a couple trolls in the chat, don't we? Are you invested in artificial intelligence crypto? No, I am not. I think a lot of it's hype. I think that a lot of it's been based off of a narrative. I haven't invested. I don't understand it, so I haven't invested. Right? I only invest in what I understand. All right, folks, let's take a few more questions. If you guys haven't already, please like this video. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell. Let's take a few more questions, though, but while we wrap up this session. Stuart, appreciate you. Yep. And we got links for Uphold if you need to go to Uphold. Also, by the way, too, I need to check this as well with Link2. I've been checking Link2. The link is down below if you guys need to use Link2. When you are new to Link2 and you sign up and you use my link, you will receive $500 towards your first investment on Link2. Now, once again, I've been checking this, and here we see the price going up again. This is on Link2 Ripple right now at $43 per share. Okay, when you invest over $10,000, that price drops down to $41 per share. But this thing has steadily been increasing since they brought it back online. Towards the end of last week, Link2 got cleaned out. They had no more shares available. Then they brought some back online just a couple days ago, and they brought it back online. It was at $38 per share, I believe. And now you're seeing it's already back up to over $41 per share. So it doesn't last long. It comes and goes. And the reason why I'm putting this link on down below, they're not a sponsor of my show. I like the guys at Link2. I like Ray Fuentes. I like the whole team over there is great. They're not a sponsor, but I do have their affiliate. And the reason why I'm putting their link on down below is because just by using my link, if you're new to Link2, you can get $500 towards your first investment. So that's why I've been plugging Link2 down below. But anyways, Link2's there. Everything else is at my website, ZachRector.com. I appreciate everyone for stopping by. And like I said, we got another Discord weekly call coming up this Saturday. Make sure you guys get tuned in by joining us on Patreon. That's how you get access to Discord. And we would love to see you guys over there. I appreciate everyone for stopping by here once again. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Thank you for stopping by. God bless you all.